Hey ladies, my name is Jenny Chaffetz and I am the host of SIDELINE Sisters. Are you a busy mom, powerhouse professional, or high-achieving go-getter? This show is for no BS women who want to be inspired to get off the sidelines of their lives. Ever feel like you're playing small or safe or just on autopilot? My guests are relatable women who've gone on a journey, overcome challenges, and lived to share the lessons that we want to hear. These conversations will be funny, sad, scary, wise, encouraging, and most of all, real. So whether you're driving, doing chores, exercising, walking the dog, or just laying on the couch, settle in and enjoy. I want to invite you to take back your power, reignite your passions, and step off the sidelines. Let's go. Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the SIDELINE Sisters podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Chaffetz, and I am so excited to tell you that the rebrand is in the works. Today is episode 97, and coming very soon at episode 101, you will see a completely new vibe, new mission, new artwork, new everything, but one thing will remain the same. I will feature amazing, smart, inspiring guests who will educate and motivate you to look better, feel better, and do better. Because as a vegan lifestyle coach, that is my dream, to show you how easy, delicious, healthy, and cruelty-free this lifestyle is. So please continue to follow and subscribe to this podcast, because I promise you, even though you might think you're not interested in the word vegan, you will hear stories and perspectives that affect you and intrigue you. So stick with me and see for yourself. However, today I continue this incredible series of fashion, style, and image-focused conversations with someone I have admired for decades. If you're somewhere in midlife, then catalog shopping and glossy magazines were a huge part of your childhood. I first saw Frederique as she graced the pages of the Victoria's Secret catalog that appeared in my mailbox all the time. And she also appeared on many high-profile magazine covers. So she is quite the stunner, and she's more than just a pretty face, which you will hear. Frederique took her global success in fashion and beauty and built a career spanning the world of media, print, film, documentary, and television, to business and activism. She has appeared worldwide in and on the covers of top magazines such as Vogue, Harper's Bazaar, Cosmopolitan, ELLE, and Shape. Frederique has produced and hosted numerous television shows across major broadcast channels, cable networks, and online platforms. As a pioneering entrepreneur, Frederique founded Frederique's Choice, the first curated online flower company, leading the way as one of the earliest sustainably conscious brands in the floral industry. Recognized for her entrepreneurial acumen, Frederique has been a guest lecturer at Harvard University and received the Marie Claire Entrepreneur of the Year Award. In early 2024, she joined the board of the global streaming platform and studio Core.live, which currently reaches more than 170 million viewers across more than 220 countries. And we talk a bit about Core.live. Frederique remains deeply engaged in initiatives promoting sustainability, creativity, and female empowerment. She frequently collaborates on projects at the intersection of fashion, art, and nature, reinforcing her role as a tastemaker and thought leader. So, after hearing all of that, it's kind of like, Victoria's Secret what? Because there is just so much to this fascinating woman. Now, before we get into the interview, I want to remind you that as I rebrand my business and podcast, I am offering free vegan lifestyle coaching sessions for people who are flirting with this idea of maybe going plant-based, maybe focusing more on health and reducing risk of chronic disease, maybe caring more about where food comes from and the environmental impact of food production. So I just want to invite you to book that free call. With it, you will get a free 3-day meal planner with some of my favorite vegan meals and tips for living this delicious, nutritious, indulgent, easy, affordable, and family friendly, cruelty free life. So please take me up on that offer. Head to the show notes, click the link, book the call, and get the freebie. Now, let's get into this fascinating conversation with Frederique van der Waal.
Okay, well, I'm going to try and tame the fangirlness right now, but I am so excited to welcome Frederique to the show. Welcome, my dear.
Thank you, Jenny. It's great to be here
Oh,
with you
this is such a
in
treat.
Zoom world.
Yes, I know. It's as close as we're going to get right now.
Yeah,
So I'm taking a deep breath and trying to ground myself, as you say so often with your Dutch roots. I'm going to
yeah.
ground myself because I have a lot of nervous energy running through me as I'm sitting across the screen from someone that I have only seen gracing the pages of worldwide publications. So this is a real treat for me. So thank you
Thank
in
you.
advance.
Thank you. Yeah,
Okay, so for the listeners, this is a predominantly midlife audience, and that I know is a very vague term, which is wonderful, however people want to interpret that. But
and
for
where do
the
we see midlife these
right,
days? I mean, it could
exactly.
be at 60. So,
Exactly. No, I interviewed Melissa Newman, who's the daughter of Paul Newman, and
oh,
she's in her early 60s, and she said, am I midlife?" And I said, "You absolutely are. You know what
yeah,
who's saying you can't live to be 120? This is the middle."
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you defined that yourself. And as women today, we are starting to understand that more and more and embracing that together. So
Yes.
those terms were probably created by men.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Which will tie in to some other questions I want to ask you. But
Yeah,
for the people listening who remember life in the 80s and 90s in particular, there was a thing called catalog shopping, which was a huge part of my
yeah,
life growing up. And I would say one of the, quintessential ultimate catalogs was, of course, Victoria's Secret,
right.
which is where I first saw you. And
Yeah, no. Oh, go
and
ahead.
and again, for people listening who may or may not remember, that was a really interesting catalog because it was not just the lingerie that people associate with that brand now. I bought a lot of clothes and shoes and
Oh,
things
oh,
in
absolutely.
those days.
Yeah, I came in to America in the late 80s, and I actually came to America with a contract for American Vogue. And then a few years in, I got asked to, there were catalogs, Saks Fifth Avenue, Bloomingdale's, and
Right,
then there was this catalog called Victoria's Secret. And they were doing a rebranding. So when they asked, I was a little bit like, I'm not going to stand in underwear with a guy next to me. I'm not interested in that. I think lingerie is a female empowerment, and it should be that. And any clothing, anything should be really for the woman itself, because whatever you exude.
right,
So at the time, and this is funny because a lot of people wanted to work for certain things, and I was so fortunate in those days, which I didn't realize at all, that they asked me. And then I said, and this photographer Arthur Elgert was one of the first who said, "Look, I'm going to be shooting," and he was a wonderful editorial photographer. I'd worked with him a lot, and a kind soul and a nice man. But anyway, I started working with them, and it was really about empowerment, but never realized, because the catalog probably came in the mail about twice a week or something. And
right,
every
right.
other week, I mean, I literally worked with them for, yeah, 10 years or something.
Wow.
Yeah, kind of crazy. I mean, it's very rare in the fashion industry in general to have that long a client. And yeah, I worked with them in their golden days.
Mm, wonderful. Yeah, it's just it's a fascinating thing to look back on, to reflect when now in this age of Amazon and TikTok Shop, like the idea of a catalog and just
Yeah.
flipping through and saying, oh, look, it comes in teal and red. Oh, I think
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
looks
Yeah.
nice.
No. I know, and it's funny because if you look at it nowadays, like if I mean, I've done obviously lots of other things, and strangely, wonderfully enough, careers seeming to elongate. People want to
Mm,
relate to somebody in their 40s, in their
yes,
50s, into their 60s, into their 70s, into
for
their
sure.
80s.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's wonderful to see that. But when you see things online and you want to buy something, yeah, it's a different thing. I still have that where I like a shop, and I remember that I actually liked to look through what I was calling sort of a magazine
yeah,
in a way. So it's
yeah,
it's funny. I still, where my daughter, of course, can buy online and has no
yeah,
problem with it. Where I go, I don't, no, no, can't do
yeah,
that.
yeah. You mentioned coming to the States in the 80s.
Yes.
Now, during my youth, my teens, my early 20s, I feel like from my perspective, the non-model, the consumer,
Hmm.
the viewer, magazine covers and the pages of catalogs in particular were models, not celebrities. Like today, the people you see on the cover are Kate Winslet and Zendaya and Scarlett Johansson, people who are in movies, not like
I
where
think
what happened with modeling?
Well, I think there is always shifts in that. I mean, it's you. I mean, I remember when I did the first runway, the runway girls looked at me and said, "Hey, yo, you're not a runway girl." First of all, I was voluptuous and
Okay.
I had breast or have
Yep.
breast,
Yep.
and I'm definitely not skinny. So it was suddenly the shift where they wanted editorial girls, and I think
Mm,
again, you see that where, for example, for a while it was about influencers in the last few years. You're actually seeing that waning now, that people are saying, no, we want to go back to people who actually have real knowledge about certain things.
sure.
Not that all influencers don't have
Yeah, no.
knowledge, but I mean, you could instantly become, is it through a TikTok or whatever, a star in the field. And we're starting to understand in the time we're living in that that's absolutely not the case. So I think there are shifts, but the celebrity element has become so big because it was a way of reaching an audience now. It is, the times have changed. And I think everybody's kind of looking at like, okay, how will we move forward? And I mean, then we go into a whole other things also in fashion, like how do you look at fashion today? How can we be better in this world in sustainability? Can we have
Mm,
all these clothes just being made and sold? And
yeah.
so, there's so many elements to that. But yeah, I got very lucky in that sense also, that I came in the 80s, sort of 87 was kind of my first years here. And then into the 90s was the top of the bill of modeling days. And you also suddenly got a name in the 90s. So in the late 80s, that wasn't the case. And
Right.
suddenly in the 90s, there was a name associated to the girls then, which, yeah, that helped me tremendously also in my career. And
Mm,
by the way, I can say all these words now as career, but when I arrived, like growing up in Holland, you were meant to be a student. So I was very living in The Hague and a good student. And I was supposed to go to university. And then, sort of by a hoax, I met somebody who said, "Oh, you could do a modeling job." And I was like, "A modeling job? What does that mean?" And he says, "You don't look at magazines or whatever." And we didn't really. There was a agency in Amsterdam which I ended up meeting the people, and I could join, which was called the Look of the Year, which is
mm,
it was a model contest organized by Elite, one of the
hmm.
bigger agencies in the world for many, many decades. And this was a way for them to find girls from around the world. And so my motivation was winning a car, which I did. And I didn't even have a driver's license. I sold. And so but going back to it, it wasn't something known. So it took me a very long time. Also, when I arrived in New York, I ended up studying. I was thinking of going to Columbia. I ended up going to NYU and New School. But the modeling took me a while. Like if somebody would ask me, like, what do you do? I would often say I'm a student. I didn't dare to say I was a model. So it's an interesting, yeah, very interesting thing. Also, my start was very strange because why I went to America is I lost my parents, and so and this is now what are we? God, it's almost 40 years ago.
Right, right. I know
Crazy,
my
and
my
they,
mother passed in 93, and it's crazy to think,
oh
but
my God, yeah,
it's been
yeah.
forever. Yeah.
That is, yeah. And so in a way, for me, it was kind of also an escape. Like I
Mm,
wanted to start sort of a new, yeah, new beginning or a new life. And it helped me in an odd way because I think that if they were there, I maybe would have come back because New York was rough and the fashion industry in those days was also slightly a bit rough.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I had read that about you losing both your parents so young, and that that must have been such a big moment for you.
Yeah, I think at the time, I mean, I was for a while, I had a shield around me, and I couldn't feel for a while, which kind of helped me in the face.
Right, right,
So I think that's one of the reasons why it didn't break me because it is a rough business in many ways. There's lots of amazing stuff on it, but it's also wasn't always as easy. And I think that helped me in a way, and also, it took many years to start understanding the impact. I'm sure for you the same. Like what in for you in the same thing. Like the moment you suddenly do certain things in your life and you can't ask your
right,
mom, or
right,
when big things happen for me with my daughter, or meeting
right,
a guy, or not going well in a relationship, just
right,
to have that, or Christmas, simple
right,
things.
right.
So definitely, but over the years, I've done a lot of work. I've on psychology, psychiatry,
Right.
different workshop, breath work. I saw that you
Yeah.
have done actually quite a bit, which been helpful, even
So
to
good.
journey work. I mean, lots
Yeah.
over years. So getting lighter. And
Mm.
so I don't I remember the moment very clearly when the suitcase I was carrying, I put it in the closet and I wasn't
Wow.
carrying it with me. Yeah,
Wow. That's like, I'm here.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
So, gosh, oh,
Sorry,
the,
we went totally
no,
into
I know the journey. It's because
the journey.
it's
Yeah,
so interesting. And when you decided to try that contest and pursue this thing that was kind of unfamiliar, what was that like for you to wrap your brain around, as far as I'm pursuing at least a contest,
yeah,
maybe a career in something that has to do with looks, or that's how we viewers take
yeah.
it. How did
Yeah,
you
well,
understand the modeling world?
so it was funny because in the beginning it was really I mean, I'm a curious person. One of my definitely traits in life. I think it has been always very interesting, and I've was never afraid to take risks. And I've seen that if I look back more at in those days, I didn't realize it as much, but I was curious about it. Maybe there were certain things like the car, but then the actual contest was done in Mauritius. And I had never been out of the European Union. It wasn't then the European Union, but Europe as a
Mhm.
whole.
Right.
And it was just very remarkable. Though when I was judged at the time, some of the supermodels of those days from who are actually still supermodels, Iman, and
Yeah.
I had no idea who they were even. Like I had no idea about that part. But I won this contract, and it was just like, yeah, okay, then I go to New York. So it was more that I kind of took it as it came,
Mm.
and I didn't really realize yet the objectification that was obviously in fashion and models, though there was a clear understanding for me, because I didn't go the normal route of going to university in Holland. I did feel slightly shy about saying I was a model, because I didn't want to be pigeonholed as some dumb blonde or something. So in the beginning, that yeah, I maybe even over read and overstudied, to to prove something to myself, which I think that also happens when you don't have a parent or parents. You kind of need to prove yourself, and that doesn't work clearly, because you can keep proving yourself. So that took some time. But I think I never looked at as much that, oh, how am I perceived, until much
Mm,
later, that I realized the impact you could have, or also the thing of where some people, the hardest thing probably in fashion and acting and all that form, even sports, is, if you're suddenly too old, or you're not the right color hair, not the right color eyes, not the right color skin, all these things played not strong enough. Oh, the newest one is there. That happens in sports, it happens in film, but also very much in modeling. So being always, you're on hold for something. I'm actually now at the moment on hold for something quite big, but I know the game. There's a 50-50 chance
right.
that happens, but it's very possible doesn't. And either you can handle that or not. And it doesn't matter how high up you are. I mean, we know our A-star actors, they will have the models all around me in the same, and that's what makes it really hard. It's in that sense, it's you're judged not on who you actually are. And that's when the personality gets a little screwed up.
Sorry to interrupt this incredible interview, but I have to tell you guys about vegan lifestyle coaching. Veganism is my passion. Yes, you've heard me say that. But so is health and helping people feel their best. We have become so complacent and tolerant of feeling crappy that it's mind blowing. And we have also accepted that we are all going to grow old and get sick. That mentality has to stop because it's not true. It doesn't have to be the inevitable course. Whether you've strongly thought about going vegan or it's just kind of come up in passing, doesn't matter. I would love the opportunity to get on a call with you to hear what's stopping you from going all the way and see if we can strategize together, because this really is the healthiest, most joy filled, abundant way of eating and living. So be sure to check the show notes and you'll see a link to book this free call. Share it with your friends. And now let's get back to the episode. How did you navigate rejection and not take it as a, well, I'm in this beauty looks world. Does that mean I'm
Mhm.
ugly? Am I not the right look? Do I have the wrong eyes? Do I have the wrong nose? Is
Yeah.
this about me? Or, how does a young person deal with that kind of rejection?
Well, it's I think it's a great tie into where we're living today, obviously, with social media and the comparison.
Yes.
I mean, it's a few things. I was very lucky being brought up in Holland. Holland empowers, first of all, young women very much so. So I had that a bit on the belt, and we are very much under the belt, not on the belt. I say that very Dutchisms. Uh,
I love
um,
it. It's so
and
authentic.
yeah, no, exactly. I have all these things on my belt. And being grounded is a very Dutch thing. So you can't stick out. So if somebody would say, "Oh, look at me, tralala, I'm arriving here with my Porsche," people will go, "Whoop!" They say, "You stick out, you get chopped." So, but then you come to America, where it's very much being proud of your achievements, which is kind of fantastic. That combination actually helped me understanding that industry at that moment in time. I was looked at a certain way, but that could change, so I kind of felt that and was good with that. Then also when things, like if somebody's I mean, not to say I had moments that I felt shy. I had moments that I remember the first Victoria's Secret show afterwards, I cried because I felt so exposed. Now, somebody would probably say to me, how the hell you were in the catalog every day? I said, yeah, it was very different. There I was suddenly walking and people were looking at me. I felt not good and I had to cry. And at the time, my boyfriend like put me in the bathtub and was like giving me tissues. He didn't know what the hell to do with me. Um, but I think that I was lucky that in some sense I had the Dutch, the kind of empowerment, and then also the loss of
Yeah.
my parents helped me in some sense be a bit immune to what people tried to do. And I have to say there were a lot of um, funny enough, not the models together. There was not where people think is there competition. It was more in sometimes with certain editors or stylists who could be very mean. I mean, I remember that I've had a few where I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I want to do this. And I've had photographers who kept saying to me like, I want this, and then say I wanted you to look like a slut or that. I mean, like horrible. And I would
Mm.
suddenly at some point I would say, you know what, F you, I'm out the door, and figure something out. And then they would be shocked. So it was lucky I could speak up.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing. I love to hear that. Because again, we have no idea. We only
Yeah.
bystanders only know what we see in a movie or a TV show that tries to make modeling.
Well, I always say that too, and because I think that is so important. So at one point I did this TV show Cover Shot, and we took women who went through very heavy situations, but it was from a natural disaster to even a child dying. Like it was
Ooh,
really pretty a big spectrum, but also quite heavy. And we would take them in, and mostly if that had happened, it would have been 5, 6 years. It wasn't right after. But
sure.
the idea was to showcase them a little bit in a vanity way by getting a hair, makeup, a stylist, and then they got a billboard in New York Times, and it made them feel incredibly good. But what was interesting is people seem to forget what goes into creating some of these people. Like, and this is something, and especially today with AI, with all these
Mm.
face tuning,
Filters
whatever,
and yeah,
filters, whatever, people, what you see, I mean, if you you would see certain people without anything, it's
right.
not that. Or a stylist dresses them. We can't,
Yeah.
I wouldn't know how to find certain outfits, I mean, even
Mm.
being in the industry. So
Right.
to always, I tell my daughter also, the moments that we sometimes see are created. They are not always what you see. Or we have a fight, you post a picture of something where we're suddenly on a holiday, and people think, oh, I'm jealous, I wish I was
Perfect.
there, look at her. And then, we just had a fight and actually are not talking or something.
Right?
I mean,
Exactly.
I rarely fight with my daughter,
Of
actually.
course not. No, no, no.
I actually, it's true though.
No, that's good. Okay, a fight with a friend, a fight with a
Yeah,
coworker, a
yeah,
fight
okay,
with
but I mean,
right.
it is good to realize
Exactly.
that what
It's
you see out there, we have to really take it.
it's funny that you said that because I had completely forgotten all about it, but I don't even remember how long ago this was. It's got to be 10 plus years ago. There was a reality show on called, I'm pretty sure, Janice Dickinson Modeling Agency or something. I don't know if you
All
knew
right,
about it or if you know.
no,
Do you know
no,
Janice
but
Dickinson?
yeah, I
Okay.
do.
So
Yeah.
she had a reality show where she was the talent agent. I mean, I think that part was true. I think she
Uh-huh.
really was a
Well,
model
okay.
agent.
Yeah, I think.
What you said is so funny. It's all coming back to me. The images of women on the screen doing their shoots, and someone's behind them, like underneath the camera's view, holding the dress together because it didn't
Oh,
fit, plumping it up so it has, a fluffier skirt, or all of
oh,
those things, like basically, pushing the hair around. with
Oh, no,
the
totally.
fans and the like stretching something. It was all, so we're seeing that on this reality
Yeah.
show, and but then you see the final
But
picture that would be on the cover of the magazine, and it's like,
yeah.
whoa, those don't match.
No, no. And then even what they sometimes do is they use another moment of the body with the head. I mean, I remember being on set where you have either the dress was completely cut open because you couldn't fit it, nobody knows. And then sometimes it's also clipped with all
Yes,
these
the
things.
binder
Then,
clips.
and even in the 90s, early 90s, they would be able to, like, you would wear a bathing suit and they would like a little bit of chup on the side retouch. I mean, it was retouching already. It was done in
Yeah,
a different way professionally, and it was people, sadly, they don't have a job anymore. But
right.
that was, yeah, that was a real job to
Yeah.
do. And yeah, so I mean, yeah, I think it's always very good to be inspired or even aspire to certain things, but to just take always in consideration that what that seems to be is probably not the full truth. And how often have we not seen that people who are put on these pedestals often get very lost and lonely? And we've heard, I mean, many sad stories around that.
Mm,
Yeah, it's a very hard thing to see sometimes, and I've seen quite a few girls being quite broken,
mm.
also with actors. It's yeah, it's not always as good as it seems.
So you've mentioned your daughter a couple of times, and I want to bring her into this conversation. So we live in this world that places an enormous significance on physical beauty.
Hmm.
What has it been like raising a daughter? What have you wanted her to understand about beauty, given the fact that your career
Yeah.
praised you for your beauty?
What's funny, her dad a few years back, I used to say, and I thought it was very sweet. We're not together anymore, but we're very dear friends. Um, Complimented me on the fact that I never put myself first. So I made a very conscious decision when I had a daughter that to be present for her. I've definitely said to a lot of things no if it was traveling too far or too long where it couldn't be in certain things. And also, she didn't understand really who I was, though sometimes like whatever on the street and she would be photographed, we would be photographed, or somebody would say, oh hey, and she would look at me, and then I go, I don't know, I mean, the crazy New Yorkers or something. Though
That's true.
I there's a story which I always thought was fantastic. We went to, it was a big one of those big Disney films, huge screening in New York, probably in the Ziegfeld or something. And we arrived together. She's little, I'm holding her hand, and a sea of paparazzi, and we're both sort of holding each other. And they're all like, Frederique or Freddie, and oh, Skylar, and she's all like this. And suddenly, in one moment, all the cameras turn next to us. I think it was like Brad Pitt or whoever came in, some grand star.
Yeah.
And I looked at her and I said, we could now fart or do what pee here if we wanted to. They wouldn't know. And this is to understand. One moment you're there, and the next moment they couldn't care less. Just know that life is, some moments you're on top of your game and some moments you're not. And all of it is part of. But I remember her looking at
That's
me
so
like,
good.
so funny. But also, yeah, I think I always try to also, as her Dutchness that I brought to her, I definitely also own yourself, be comfortable with yourself first. Also, very pro women. I'm a woman's woman, and girlfriends to be very important, have each other's back. And when boys got in the picture, I definitely also said, look, you have to be good with you. And of course we go through times where suddenly, I mean, it's now suddenly first thing, or suddenly I had the other day something on, and then suddenly these things were hanging here. And I was like, what the heck is that now? Suddenly, like this new skin, you
Oh,
know,
sure.
yeah, no, it's true. Like
You're
it's like
right.
some moments hey, it's all, I mean, we're aging and it's okay. I actually like getting older. I mean, I'm fortunate. I was given very nice genetics, but still, but it is also by saying you have to own it. And I've learned a lot from, I have a very dear friend of mine, Beatrix Ost. She's in her 80s, and to see every time how she looks at things and accepts them. I always remember actually with Lauren Hutton.
Mm,
I worked with her when I was very young, and I actually said that she reminded me of my mom, which was like the biggest compliment I could make.
right. But
Obviously, now I understand that if somebody would, some little spliffy girl says to me, "You
yes,
remind me of your mother," I would be like, "Huh? Um,
screw you.
Screw you. Who do you think you are?" And then I ended up doing her program. She had a TV program at some point, and then we talked about it. And it was so funny that different times in your life, it's like you have to adjust, and it's, a part of it. But that's definitely something I mean, I had yesterday a conversation with my daughter, who just, Skylar, she just did this amazing, it's called Collectible. It was a high-end design fair, arts and design and
Mm,
furniture, and big in New York, like 4 days. She like did the whole, I was like 25 years old, and she was saying, "Mom, I feel already sort of anxious, or I feel," and it's very much in the 20s now. A lot of these young women and men both, um like it has to all be sort of instant. There's no time, like the comparison. And I said, listen, everything you've learned, it's a process. Now you're going to say, hey, from I want to do more of that, or I want to look at that. It's always this, be with yourself and give yourself, be proud of where you are now, and take a moment. You also come of an adrenaline rush, and then you have a moment of being quiet is okay, and take
yeah.
that time. Like today, it's seemingly people, it's so extreme. So being quiet and actually, hey, I don't feel for a moment so good, or I need to be in nature, or I mean, that is always my go-to, is to,
Mm,
I think that's why I survived. I got very lucky, um, because when Skylar was born, I wanted to have an escape out of New York. And so we found a really old, decrepit uh, farm, and I can put my hands in the dirt and work, and made me always ground again. But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, it's so important for especially young women also to have people speak to that. And yeah, I think my
Mm,
daughter is pretty very grounded and has a good outlook, and I mean, I definitely take some for that, and her dad too. But I
yeah.
definitely, and we have a very close and good relationship, so I'm extremely proud of that.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
incredible. You
yeah,
should be.
yeah,
I have a daughter myself, and there's so much we have to think about or worry about as far as giving the wrong message. And it sounds like you have done a remarkable job giving her the tools and the building blocks to feel good about herself in this world. So I'm curious, what has raising a daughter, especially, I don't want to say post modeling because you still do work, but after this enormous career, what have you learned from her?
well, lots. I mean, I think having her was, I didn't know if it was going to be a her or he, and when it was a girl, or is a girl, um was amazing for me. It made my heart very round. I mean, I was scared, in the sense, not about me or my body or any of those things, but scared that I didn't have a mother. I'm sure you thought about that,
Right.
that like, oh my God, but but it came very natural. And it's a mirror. And if you're open to that and daring to look at that, she taught, I mean, little things like where she would suddenly, I'm talking to you, or even as she was little and I would be on my, at the time, BlackBerry or whatever,
Mm.
and saying, yo, mom, or I was aware, or in ways of when I tell a story, or if she's very good in design and style. She says, mom, what you're wearing is not good, or those are outside things, but also inner. We have had conversations. Yeah, it's very interesting. I think the two of us have learned a lot from each other. She's also she taught me to say sorry. I couldn't say sorry for a long time. I had a hard time with that. Control, to let go of control. That was my sort of way of dealing with a lot of stuff. Was thinking that I had to control everything.
Right.
Must have been a
Yeah.
nightmare. So she was one of the first who put that mirror up, and I did work around that to make sure I wouldn't be this constant controlling. And I can admit that I'm doing much better.
I love it. That's so good. And I
Yeah,
want the listeners to know that I did not prep you for that question. That all seemed to come very quickly
yeah.
and easily, but I want the listeners to know this was an on-the-spot question.
Good.
Um, that's so good. I love that.
And
It is.
empathy, actually,
Mm,
empathy. She has an enormous amount of empathy, and um, I mean, I have it too, but through her eyes, I could see. Yeah, she taught me even more. And the Dutch are known also to be kind of judgmental. Yeah, and so a quick, uh, judgment or something critical. And I've learned to understand that, you can judge somebody from the cover of a book or a situation, and we've seen it too often. So yeah, that's something that I definitely she helped me in.
yeah. It's so important for all of us to recognize that as humans, and especially you being someone in this literal spotlight, there's so much more than just a pretty face. I mean, to learn about you and know that you lost both of your parents young and navigated this world of fashion and modeling at a young age without parental involvement, and then to be the kind of mother that you've been, it's just it's
Yeah.
so important to go deeper than what we
Oh,
see in 2D.
totally. Yeah, and also I have to say one of my what I feel what modeling and the fashion and being in the spotlight really gave me is the doors that opened. And this is why I love America. America really gave me that people you have a chance to develop yourself in directions. And so initially it started sort of with programming, but then I did a documentary around for discovery. Was the idea of how certain products come to us, and I did it with flowers, and at the same time there was a flower being named after me, which was unusual for the Dutch. But out of that documentary I started a line of like the first online um, flower sale, bouquets that I curated because I'm always with flowers. They're
Mm,
there.
yes.
Just some spray roses. And but sustainability has been a really a driver. So at one point, the Sustainable Fashion Week, I could be a voice to that with my own company, Frederique's Choice. And actually, not so long ago, I did a film around a power woman, this eco-feminist called Dr. Vandana Shiva, of where I ended up as an executive producer raising money so she could have a global impact campaign. And she talks all about organic foods, regenerative farming, to mitigate also climate change and for the food systems. So it was fabulous to be doing that. And now actually I'm on a board of a media platform, which is a foundation where I'm it's called Core.live.
Yeah.
And we find documentaries, or I'm spearheading really the content coming and some of the charities. And it's really if I look back, it's also, I mean, I look forward, but I look also back at certain things, how they come together and form itself. And I actually, this is one of the conversations I had to Skylar yesterday, not about all these things, but saying you can't always see where things lead. Just be curious, be present, and dare to take a risk, open the door and see what happens. If it fails, who cares? You tried it. But I have to say, I feel very lucky to be in this moment of time, even though it's a shit show out there.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about. No, but it is. It's so restless everywhere. I
Yeah.
mean, we're between wars and this and that and political and polarized. It's a really hard time. So I think even more so, I mean, one of the things I said to Skylar yesterday, we've done charitable work over time. I've brought her into certain events or where I am on boards or ambassador. I said, it's really good to find something that moves you where you put your time towards. And in the beginning, maybe it's just here and there a little bit, but it is a really good time to feel of it's not about you, but just about giving something. And it will help you. It's an interesting thing. Yeah, it makes things rounder and better.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry for the interruption, but I have to tell you once again how excited I am to now be offering vegan lifestyle coaching. Now, I know the word vegan can be triggering, so just hear me out. Do you want to get healthier? Do you want to feel better? Are you maybe dealing with some health stuff, body stuff that just isn't ideal? We all are, aren't we? So, what if I could offer you a way to improve your body? The bloating, the inflammation, brain fog, aches and pains, digestive issues, poor sleep, extra weight, mood, and energy. Wouldn't that be awesome? Yeah, I thought so. Now, head to gentlecoaching.com/veganism and let's get started. You want to feel better, and I want to help you get there. Now, let's get back to the show.
so how are you deciding what to pursue with Core? What does that look like?
So, for example, 3 weeks ago, a woman in Holland who works a little bit in the sustainability said, "Oh, I came across this film of a friend of mine. They made this small documentary. It's about the Muga Valley." And the Muga Valley is in the north of Spain, and it's like a 35-minute film, so hard for anything to place it. But it is about how this community under the Pyrenees live in a pretty dangerous zone for fires, and obviously the climate change is there, and they've had quite a bit of fires, and then not enough water. And so this community did a couple of things. One, made community again. So the little villages started organizing a festival together. So creating community, which is key, in-person human contact. And then they started looking in how to approach when fires come. And one of the things, a fire moves through the brush 1.5 meters higher up. So they were taking care of the brush, and they brought back the vultures. And by that, an ecosystem came back. And I've often heard this, like in rewilding, they do that. So, for example, this is something that we're now looking at. Hey, this could be great that we can use for the platform. We're also looking at AI learning. So this would be a great way where this could be for different communities in the world, that they say, oh, we can use this as sort of an educational thing. We're, for example, now talking to a satellite company in Sweden to get into remote areas, and we can create content. We're talking to the prison system, where we have done with tablets. And then, like, for example, I just have are working on or helping with a film that is about a Dutch couturier. He's a designer that was the first to sort of reuse fabric, so being a sustainable guy. And it's really nice to hear that story. And I think for people, again, also to see not easy and just that survival and how he's done it. And, and funny enough, the filmmaker said, would you do an interview? And I said, I would love to, actually, because when I started, I didn't realize how polluting the fashion industry was. I had no idea. I mean, yes, I grew up in a Dutch environment where we were frugal, electricity. I knew about all that and water use, and
Right.
but I didn't know what the fashion industry had for impact. So it was, anyway, it's projects like that, and sometimes it can be a friend of mine who's an artist who does great work, and I think should be seen to. Depends a little bit, and it's fun.
Nice. Yeah. Isn't that important?
Oh, I think
So,
that's a huge thing.
so with the, to quote you, the shit show outside, what issues are most important to you?
Well, I think dialogue. I think that we don't talk to each other anymore. And talking is one thing, listening is another. um, Hearing opinions that diverge from each other. My daughter, for example, asked me, like, how do I talk about Israel and Gaza? I mean, this is so big. It's a conversation to have, to understand why people, discuss certain things, I think is really important. So dialogue is very good. And in the shit show, I think community, we have to find people that to be together and create, maybe, and not to say that you stay in your own pot always, but also to be open to create events again where people talk and not be attached to a goddamn phone all the time.
Yeah.
Um, I try not to watch the news, or I haven't watched the news in a very long time.
I'm the same.
But I am definitely stuck in my vertical, which I think is also another thing that I, at the moment it's very hard what's real and what's not real anymore. So yeah, in the shit show. And then for me, I focus very much on how can we do better? And better is a better world, nature. We have to preserve what we have. That's a real issue. I don't care what you call it, but the weather is definitely, we see it everywhere. It's having a huge effect. It wasn't like that. I know things are secular, but we have done things to our surroundings, and we need to step up, and we as people can all do a little bit. If we do all a little bit, then things can change, and it can be as simple as bringing your own bag to the grocery store, to saying, you know what, if I say I don't want a whole plastic whatever, it changes. A corporation will listen to that.
Right.
We should understand that we have power to it, and yeah, I'm very into food also, what is good for you and what not. I'm uh, starting to understand more and more through that film also. Oh my goodness, like realizing that our seeds, like what if you're growing things, that you make sure that the seeds are right. The
Mm.
earth, how do you use that? The effects that it has on us. Yeah, it's all very, it's
It could keep you busy for a long time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think it's important also to tell the story, because you always take something away from it where you think, oh, really? In America, people are very with healthcare. I mean, I like my daughter said something. How sick do I have to be before you bring me to the doctor? And I said, you are supposed to be sometimes sick. That's good. You build up stamina. Um, and of course, if you have something serious, we go to the doctor. That's why they're there. But we don't go to the doctor if, your nose is hurting for a second because you picked your nose too hard. Just sit with it, whatever. or, or with, for example, if your ear hurts, I was taught at one point you do olive oil with garlic. So I did. Like if you take antibiotics for the littlest thing, you become dependent.
Yes.
Then when you do get your UTI in middle
Now
age,
what?
it doesn't work. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. That's so good. It's interesting that you brought up community and dialogue. I told you how I had a conversation with Emmy, and that
Uh-huh.
came up in our interview. She talked about the importance of, I mean, just like you said, put the friggin' phone down. She said, go out your front door. See who your
Yeah.
neighbors are. Actually
Yeah.
converse with people, invite them into your home, have a cup of coffee with them. What happened that
Yeah.
the doors are shut, the shades are down, and our faces are in phones?
Yeah, and it's funny. I did at one point with my company, we did a calendar and we had to do each day a particular thing within the sort of the company, and I really liked it. And I would say to Skylar, you have to, for example, we did that a few times during the weeks, but to give a real a compliment to somebody you walk on the streets. And it's so funny when you suddenly see, oh, I love your outfit, or great
Yeah.
hair, or
Yep.
or whatever. And what happens instantly? The whole energy changes.
Yes.
I have this thing in elevators where I sometimes feel like everybody's like sort of this thing, and then I suddenly have to say to break the thing, like, oh wow, can you believe it, what whatever this weather, or, I mean, something stupid, but it
Yeah.
changes everything. I mean, it's so true. I mean,
Yeah.
we have to really, yeah, I mean, I feel I'm in a sense lucky because I feel that I'm present with myself, so I feel that it's, yeah, if when you do that, it's nice, it's good,
Mm.
feels
Yeah, that
good.
is,
It helps you.
it does feel really good.
Yeah.
You catch
Yeah.
someone who's like, oh wow, you noticed? Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
It's,
saw
yeah.
me?
Yeah. So
It's,
important.
when you talked about sustainability, it had me thinking back to how we started the conversation with the fashion catalogs. Maybe it's
Yeah.
a good thing that we're not getting catalogs every other day in the mailbox.
Absolutely. I mean, I agree. I mean, it was something I was going to say, but then, I mean, and this is the times too, though you have to, I mean, there's an organization called Remake, and when you start realizing what, with the H&Ms, and obviously they all have a place in all the
Yeah, yeah.
big box shops. Um, but there's, maybe we have to look at it from a different angle of how we can reuse things, even that are there. Do we need every time a new T-shirt? I mean,
Right.
there has to be a different way to look at it, and understand that some of these things come right back there in Bangladesh or India
Yeah,
and
yeah,
never used. And what's there is also here in the
yeah.
end. So we have to, we're all connected.
I love when people say shop your house, shop your closet. I went somewhere with a group of people recently and I brought some fruit salad in like a pasta jar or something
Uh-huh.
because
Uh-huh.
I keep all of it. I reuse, I
Yeah.
wash and reuse all my glass containers. And so I show up
Well,
with
that's
this.
a good one, what you just said,
Yeah,
glass
yeah.
container. Yeah.
So I show up with this glass jar, and it says on the side of it, pesto sauce or something. And this person's like, "Oh, what a clever idea! Like I invented paper or something.
Yeah.
What a clever idea to reuse the jar and put other food in it when you're out and about." And I said, "Okay, I didn't come up with this idea, but yes, it is very clever, and I recommend it. That I've got jars in all sizes. The little
Yeah.
capers jar comes in handy when I make salad
Yeah.
dressing, up to the big pasta jar, and then the
Exactly.
giant jar that has rice in it. It's like
Yeah.
I've got a drawer of jars. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, exactly. I mean, that's it. But that is, for example, a thing. Like once somebody knows that this is a great one, that, and by the way, also glass, not the plastic,
Right,
because
right.
we now know that all this plastic that's coming
Hmm.
into our system. So, but yeah, I mean, I totally agree. And that you start learning every time. Like the other day, I heard about, how chia seeds are good for you, but
Yeah.
they should be wet. So you should have them in water
Okay.
and then
Yeah.
take them, because otherwise they take the water out of your intestines.
Right.
Holy, I mean, nobody told me that before. I thought I was doing I mean, you think sometimes you do the right thing. And
Yeah.
then, so like little things like that, they are personal, but um, when you don't take you're using a plastic bag at a grocery store, you start making an impact.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah, good.
Well, Frederique, I have monopolized a lot of your time, but this has been so delightful. What would you, before I let you go, what advice or what life tips would you give the women listening?
Ooh,
I know from anything, from
um,
beauty, from sustainability, from child raising, you name it.
well, let's start with something. So first on beauty, I firmly believe in for women always to clean your face before you go to bed and moisturize and drink a lot of water. Um, I think and I change my products around. So and I don't wash my hair a ton if I can avoid it. Obviously, sometimes with work, you can't help it, but that's also good. Um, I think in family life is to be an ear, to learn to listen a little bit and see how they are wiser often than we think, and
Mm,
give them credit for. And I think by putting the time in, you get things back. It sometimes seems hard, but I think um I that's one very big thing. I made time for my daughter, and she will still say if I'm not present or I'm too much is going on, she will say it in an instant because she knows the difference. So that's probably a good thing. No,
yes.
so yeah, I would definitely say that. And I think in being conscious, don't shy away in the sense it seems all like a lot that's going on, but maybe look at a few things where you say, hey, I want to start making a few small changes. And is that by saying, I'm never going to buy, or never, don't immediately put the standards high. But for example, a water bottle, have your own water bottle, simple.
Mm,
It's,
yeah.
it's, have bags so that you bring to your grocery store. There's little things that you can do. Um, Shop vintage, think about that. Do maybe throw a party and do an exchange with a bunch of women and have fun with it. Have a cocktail party and everybody has to give somebody, or somebody has to everybody has to walk out with another outfit from somebody. I mean, it changes your feeling, like create the community. um and yeah, I think take a risk and say hello to someone, or have a conversation that isn't sort of your normal way. Like even at a grocery store or somebody, you suddenly talk to somebody and really talk to somebody, something changes. And that energy is as good for you as it is for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, that will be a few,
Those are good. And
yeah.
honestly, that is one of the huge reasons I have this podcast is to have these conversations for myself and then to share them with the world.
Uh-huh.
That,
Yeah.
we didn't know each other. We're two women having a conversation, and I recognized you before you saw me, but
Yeah,
that's
but this
just
is
life.
also something where, I think something comes on your path. I mean, I easily could have said, no, I don't know who that is, whatever. No, you always get something out of somebody in a good way. I'm not,
Yeah. Yeah.
the exchange is a healthy thing. And that's what we always have to remember. And that we are, I mean, I think you're real.
No,
Can you
AI did not
imagine?
create
Can,
this.
can you can you imagine that soon we're going to be another thing? No, but that's I think that's important for us all, and also not to be too hard on yourself. I mean, I firmly, when I have learned when it's not going well, which for everybody you go through times like that, to let that also be a little bit. and and maybe even reach out to friends and say, hey, I need a little help, or can you pick me up and we're going to a fun movie, or whatever it is.
Right.
Like it's also important.
Mm,
Yeah, we
this
don't
is
we don't all have to pretend that everything is always good,
no,
because
no.
it ain't.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, that was a lot to digest. There were so many good things there. I want you to tell the audience where to get more of you, what you want, what do you want the audience to know?
um Actually, I'm in a moment, a little bit of a pivotal moment of which directions again I'm going, because the social media I've had a bit of a difficulty with, and we're maybe going to do a bit of a rebranding. But I am on Instagram, Frederique VD Wall,
Mm,
and mostly my stories will be reflections of things. I still have a site, but I haven't been very active with that. Yeah, I mean, that would be probably the best way through the Instagram.
okay.
That's sort of the most there.
Yeah, because I'm so eager to hear what comes of the documentary work and the movies
Yeah.
and all of that
Well,
core
this is
stuff.
the thing that I kind of am trying to figure out how I can have these things live there. I kind of made it a little bit of it's one of those things where I thought, okay, I want to talk about what happens and those things. So and then a part can be fashion, but it's so much more interesting the next phase. But yeah,
Mm,
um,
so good.
yeah,
All right. Well, before we say goodbye, I want to invite you to raise a glass. We're going to say cheers to staying grounded.
staying grounded.
Cheers.
It's a good one for this world.
Mm, yes. If you look
Mm.
outside, you see a shit show, put your feet in the ground.
Well, one big thing on that is my go-to is take a walk in nature.
Yes. Yep.
That works, changes your energy.
It's so easy, and everywhere has
Yeah.
nature. Cities have
Yeah,
nature.
they do. Totally. I mean, you can go into a park and you sit there, it's a different
Exactly.
feeling.
It
Yeah.
totally is. Well, I am so grateful for this time together, and I wish you so much success with everything going
Thank you.
forward.
Thank you.
Wow, right? If you didn't already know who Frederique Vanderwaal was, be sure to Google her name, check out the old pictures. It might ring a bell, especially if you were a catalog shopper like I was in the 80s and 90s. Now, let's get into Frederique's many notes from the sidelines. Number one, moments on TV and images in ads and online are created and curated. So remember, they're not real, but unfortunately present ideas that make us think something that just isn't true. Number two, in life, there are moments where you will be at the top of your game, and there are other moments where you aren't, and that's okay. Number three, own yourself, especially as you age. Be comfortable with yourself first and be proud of yourself. Give yourself that moment of being quiet. Number four, lessons Frederique learned from her daughter Skylar. Be present with each other without your face in tech. Say sorry. Let go of trying to control and have empathy. Number five, you can't always see where things are going to lead, so just be present and curious and dare to take risks. Number six, find causes that matter to you and give. Number seven, talking and listening to each other is key to living a full life. Let's remember to build community and create time together without phones. Number eight, let's think about how we can do better and preserve resources. How can we reuse and not consume so much? We all have to do a little bit. Number nine, compliment people. It makes them feel good and changes the energy. And number 10, don't pretend everything is all good when it's not. Reach out to a friend, ask for help. So I want to thank Frederique once again for this beautiful conversation. So be sure to follow her and check out what she's doing. And be sure to follow or subscribe to this show wherever you're listening. Remember, there's a YouTube channel. All the links are in the show notes. And book yourself a free call with me. Let's just talk about the plant-based life. Let's just have a conversation about what that could look like for you and what that means for the planet and all the special creatures walking around us. I wish you a beautiful week, and I'll see you right back here next time for my conversation with the lovely and talented Jewelry Empire founder, Rachel Milkey. Cheers to you.